Okay, today we're in lesson 15.2, two-way frequency tables. Once again, 15.2, two-way frequency tables. Now, this lesson may prove to be a little bit difficult for some of you, but you can do it. Because in this lesson, you have to read and interpret a lot of information and come up with a lot of fractions and ratios to extrapolate the information they want you to use. All right, now to be successful on examples in 1 and 2 in this book, you have to know how to create a relative frequency table. All right, now we're going to help you do this through this particular activity, creating a relative frequency table. The frequency table below shows the results of a survey that Maria took at her school. She asked 15 randomly selected students whether they preferred dogs, cats, or other pets. Convert this table to a relative frequency table that uses decimals as well as percents. All right, now after she took her survey, this is what she found. Preferred pets were dog, cat, and other. And total, as in the total number of people surveyed, she asked 50 people, 50. All right, the frequency of dogs was 22, cats was 15, and other was 13. A, divide the number in the frequency table by the total to obtain relative frequencies. As decimals, record the results in the table below. So they showed you how you're going to compute your relative frequency for the dog. So what they did was they took 22 and divided it by 50. All right, and that's what they said to do, to divide it by the total. So 22 divided by 50 comes out to be 0.44. So now you do the same thing for cat, and you do the same thing for other. All right, now after you plug everything in, you should have 15 divided by 50, which is equal to 0.3, 13 divided by 50, which is equal to 0.26, and then of course 50 divided by 50, which is equal to 1. So cats were 15, total survey with 50 people. Other was 13, survey 50, and then of course 50 out of 50 would give you 1. Now write the decimals as percents in the table below. So 0.44 ends up being 44%, 0.3 ends up being 30%, 13 over 50 was 0.26, so it ends up being 26%, and of course 1, with your decimal 2 places, ends up being 100%. All right, now that's how you make a relative frequency table. Relative frequency table. Okay, let's continue. Creating a two-way frequency table. In the previous Explore activity, the categorical variable was pet preferences, and the variable had 3 possible data values: dog, cat, and other. The frequency table listed the frequencies for each of the values of that single variable. If you have 2 categorical variables whose values have been paired, you list the frequencies of the paired values in a two-way frequency table. For her survey, Maria also recorded the gender of each student. The results are shown in the two-way frequency table below. Each entry is the frequency of students who prefer a certain pet and are a certain gender. For instance, 10 girls prefer dogs as pets. Complete the table. All right, now notice how the table is laid out. Gender is down here, girl, boy. Preferred pet, dog, cat, and other. So girl for dog is 10, for cat is 9, and for other is 3. Boys, dog is 12, cat is 6, and other is 10. A, find the total for each gender by adding the frequencies in each row. All right, now make sure this is in your notes as we go along. All right, so they said row. Row goes across. So 10 plus 9 plus 3. 9 plus 3 is 12. So 12 plus 10 is 22. All right, let's go across here. All right, I have 12 plus 6 is 18. 18 plus 10 will give me 28. So there you should have 28. Okay, now we're going to add the columns going down. 10 plus 12, that's going to be 22. 9 plus 6 is 15. 3 plus 10 is 13. And then 22 plus 28 is 50. And what you should notice, if you were to add going across, 22 plus 15 plus 13 should give us 50. A joint relative frequency is found by dividing a frequency that is not in the total row or total column by the grand total. A marginal relative frequency is found by dividing a row total or a column total by the grand total. A two-way relative frequency table displays both joint relative frequency and marginal relative frequencies. Create a two-way relative frequency table for Maria's data. A. Divide each number in the two-way frequency table from the previous explore activity by the grand total. Write the quotients as decimals. All right, so let's go ahead and fill that out based on what they've given us to start with and also based on the information in your previous table. All right, now after setting up all your fractions, just like you did in the previous relative frequency table, here you're doing it for a two-way frequency table. You should end up with 12 divided by 50, which is 0.24. 9 divided by 50, 0.18. 6 divided by 50, 0.12. 15 divided by 50, 0.3. 3 divided by 50, 0.06. 10 divided by 50, 0.2. 13 divided by 50, 0.26. 22 divided by 50, 44. And 28 divided by 50, 0.56. Now the things that you should notice is, one, when you're adding going across here, this plus this should give you 0.44. This plus this should give you 0.56. Going down, this plus this should equal 1. This plus this should be 0.26. This plus this should be 0.3. And this plus this should be 0.44. And of course, going across this way, 0.44 plus 0.3 plus 0.26 should get a 1. Right now, a couple of things. One, this should help you understand examples 1 and 2 a little better when it's been explained to you. And 2, you now know how to make a two-way relative frequency table as opposed to, I'm going to say, a one-way relative frequency table. Right? You also know what joint relative frequency now means and how it's found, along with marginal relative frequency.